Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing another horror movie review today. I'm going to be doing a review of Antrum, the Deadliest Film Ever Made. Okay, so, let's see. So, it's so weird because my feelings about this film are so mixed, because there's the part of like the documentary, like, this film kills people and blah 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 blah, and just like, I don't know, I don't buy into that bullshit. Like, it just doesn't add anything for me, so it just, yeah, I don't know, I'm not into that part. But the film within the film, like the actual film Antrum, the story about the girl and her younger brother like going into the woods and digging a hole to hell to try to save their dog's soul, and then running into these crazy fucking hillbillies, and you know, the you questioning whether, as a viewer, questioning whether what is happening, at least what the boy is seeing, is real, or if it's just him hallucinating because he's in kind of a traumatized state. Is really actually pretty interesting. I mean, it's not like a perfect film. It's not amazing in every absolute way, but like overall, it's interesting. It's like very much like an art house film. It's super. I don't know. It's well shot. I like the characters. I think there was good character build up. I think the relationship between the brother and the sister was well built and like made sense why she was doing this, why he was kind of like, you know, like just their relationship. It made sense. Sorry, that was a really stupid way of saying that. But yeah, I don't know. I liked the film, like the actual film within the film, not the whole documentary part, because I think that just was a marketing gimmick in my opinion. And I think if they just released the film Antrum within itself, and they could have even kept everything. There's not everything within the film that I loved. Like, some of the stuff was a little overdone, like the edits and all that, but you know, it was still like, I think it was fun. It like added to the atmosphere. I understand why it was there. It, you know, maybe for somebody like me who's like not really scared by stuff, like, and doesn't really believe, was not brought up with like a Catholic or Christian background, so the devil and a lot of stuff like that, like, isn't necessarily scary to me like it may be to people who grew up with that background, because, you know, it's just like, I feel like a lot of the time, like, how you take that kind of stuff maybe has to do sometimes with like what was brought up with you, like, to fear those things, which I wasn't. I liked the atmosphere of this movie a lot. I liked the way that they used the demonic symbols kind of carved into the film, or a plastic layer on top of the film, within, sparse throughout the film, and like almost, I think it was like they said like over 100, like 107, or no, like around 170 shots, or like 170 times. Like, it was pretty, well, like, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I don't know how I felt about the scenes of like the people being tortured kind of cut into the film. I thought it did like create a good atmosphere, so I think overall it was good. Yeah, I thought just the whole thing with like the storybook pacing, like, where, you know, we went through each layer of hell in that. I thought that was kind of cool, how like you were kind of like, okay, like shit's gonna go to another level now. And yeah, I don't know, like, as someone who even doesn't really believe in this kind of stuff, like, and has personally like educated myself a lot about what like the religion of Satanism actually is, these things aren't scary to me, because Satanism actually is very misunderstood, and like I will have a whole nother video about that, but like there's two different things. I don't want to mix them up because I always forget which one is which, but there is the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, and I cannot remember for the life of me which one is which, but one of them is a political movement that fights for separation of church and state, and one of them is a spiritual and religious community. and the spiritual and religious community who practices Satanism is not a violent community. They don't hurt people. And actually, if you look at one of their main sets of beliefs, which is the 11 satanic rules of Earth, it's actually like not like there are certain things that are kind of worded in a certain way that sound like weird or whatever, but in general, it's a lot about just respecting people. So, and a lot about like Satanism as I understand it. I'm not an expert on it in any way, but from my understanding, Satanism is a lot just like this religion. What I'm talking about is just about balance, about like understanding that there's dark and light into life, and there's not just like this one almighty good being, that there are good and bad in life. It's not necessarily worshiping the bad, it's just recognizing that that is a part of life. So yeah, I'm not a Satanist in any way, but I don't like judge them or disrespect them like a lot of people do, unfortunately, and it's really just really misunderstood. And the reason that I personally have that understanding is because when I was younger, I identified as Wiccan, otherwise known as like being a witch, and so people thought I was a Satanist all the time. Like I had a boyfriend whose parents were Catholic and literally like thought I was like worship the devil. And one time like I was like they were driving me home, and the boyfriend's dad literally like put on the radio Catholic music, and then he like imitated me having it, like pretending like that I was having an exorcism because I was listening to Catholic music. Like yeah, like it was they actually liked me, but then they would like make fun of me and be like, you're worship the devil. I don't know, it was weird. But yeah, so that was bizarre. But yeah, so because of that, because I constantly got accused of being a devil worshiper, I actually, educated myself about what Satanism, the religion, actually is and what their practices are. So yeah, that's why. But sorry, long ass fucking tangent, just explaining the fact that like, satanic things in movies are not scary to me, but also like just in general horror movies not really scary to me. I'm gonna come out with a video on this, on why horror movies don't really scare me. Not because I don't love them, I absolutely love them. I just think real life and issues going on in real life, like climate change and racism and all that kind of stuff, is a lot scarier than like what's in horror movies. So yeah. And also I'm a true crime fan, so I know that like real life is way more fucked up than horror movies. The shit that happens in real life, they would not allow to be put in a movie. I promise you. It's fucked up. Like real fucked up. Probably my favorite part of the movie was the fact that it kind of towed that line of not being able to tell whether the stuff that we were seeing was happening in the boy and girl's heads because of what they'd been through, or or if it was real, because I don't know, they were like summoning shit, but like yeah, like with like the dog and Cerberus and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, obvious, I think like the Baphomet stove or whatever, like statue that like they burned people in, was real. And like obviously like the hippies were real, or like the rednecks were real. Yeah, I don't know, I think it was interesting how they played with that, and how you couldn't tell what was real. And at the end, that ended up, it seems, leading to the like little boy's death, because it seems like the girl probably shot him because she thought he was Cerberus, when it turned out to just be him carrying the bear trap, it looked like, that was on the husky. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. It was interesting how they had the connection to like the suicide forest, kind of. I'm not sure how I felt about that, honestly, because they had the sign outside of the forest, which had the message, which I'm pretty sure is the same message that is outside of the suicide forest in Japan, Aokigahara. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but yeah. So it, you know, says pretty much that, like, you are a gift to your parents, think of your family, like, you know, talk to people about your situation. And yeah, and then they had the man in the forest who was speaking Japanese, and yeah, it was just interesting. I was just like, but part of that, like, I think in some ways it might be a little insensitive, or a lot insensitive, but if you put that aside, I think it's interesting to think that, like, this place in hell is like hell, if that's where they actually were, if this was real. It kind of doesn't matter where you are. It can appear in different places, so that's how this Japanese businessman could be there. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be in the United States, obviously, but, like, I think that might hint at the fact that this forest can kind of be anywhere if you're in a dark place and you're open to these things within the context of the story. Yeah, so I think just overall, like, honestly, if you can, just, like, either watch the first part, which is the documentary part, and just ignore it, or skip through it. Because it doesn't really add anything. It's just trying to do pretty much what Blair Witch Project and Cannibal Holocaust did a long time ago, and at least in the case of the Blair Witch Project, did better. I'm not going to talk about Cannibal Holocaust, so that's a whole other topic that we may get into one day, but yeah. And yeah, it's just like, it just doesn't add anything for me. I enjoyed the part at the end where they explained how the different tones used in the movie, and how the symbols that were, you know, put over the film throughout the movie were done by, like, some sort of cult or something, or like how they were done. I enjoyed the part where they explained, like, how the movie was made to be, like, disturbing in, like, psychological ways that you may not notice through sound and all these different things, and, like, kind of a more explanation of it. Like, that part of the documentary I didn't mind as much as, like, the first part, which, like, the first part on its own, if they just, like, release it on YouTube or something as, like, a fun little thing for, like, people, like, I don't know, even a marketing campaign, like, okay, but, like, making it an actual part of the movie, it was just so dumb. And, like, it's just, like, I know it went viral on TikTok, and, like, I looked it up on TikTok, and everybody was, like, acting like it was a real thing, like, it was, like, a real cursed film from the 70s. It's like, do you not have 2 seconds to, like, look up the movie and realize it was released in 2019 and it has actors, especially, like, the child actors are current actors who, like, have Instagrams, and, like, you can find very easily and be like, oh, these are people who are alive right now and look the exact same. Like, this is clearly not a film from the 1970s that was some found footage, like, but, I mean, it's TikTok, so I guess a large majority of people don't have the time to research anything. They just have the time to be like, I might die if I watch this movie. But yeah, actually, funny story, I started this movie about a week before I actually watched the full movie. I watched just, like, the documentary part because I was like, this looks stupid, I want to watch it for fun. And then once I got done with the documentary part, I was like, the rest of this movie, like, the actual movie, is probably going to be just as stupid as this fucking documentary. So I was like, I'm not interested. So I started watching reviews, and, like, people started talking about it, and I was just like, I'm kind of interested to, like, actually watch it all the way through and just, like, see just how stupid it is, because I hadn't really, like, heard many positive reviews. And so I watched it for myself, and I ended up actually getting really interested. I actually really liked, like, the film itself, like, within the film. And so I was, like, really interested in, like, it's a slow burn, not gonna lie. I personally like slow burns because I like when there's time to build character. I like when, you know, you can build tension. Like, it's not just, like, jump scare in your face. That's not my thing. So, yeah, I actually enjoyed it, and I was really, really, really surprised. And then I went to find more reviews afterwards, because I didn't watch like a ton of spoiler reviews or like watch like the whole reviews of a lot of them. And then I watched them, and some people didn't really like it just because like I think they were mostly thrown off by the documentary. But I saw like the documentary part, but I saw a couple like reviews that I'll try to like link in the description, where it was like people who are like horror reviewers, where they were saying that, you know, the film itself within it like was pretty good. It was like, you know, honestly like not a bad film, and it was interesting, and it was, you know, it's just like good to watch. Like, it was not perfect, but it was, you know, like it was a good satanic horror film. And that I was like, okay, yes, this is like how I'm feeling. Like, so yeah, I just think like the movie within the movie is good. I think just kind of ignore, like, skip through the first 15 minutes if you're a real horror lover, and then just watch the movie as it is, and maybe watch like the little credit scene, like where they explain like how they think of the credit scene as like a making of the movie, and then you're good. Like, just skip the first like whatever part, like the documentary, till you get to the actual film, watch that, and then watch the little credit scenes as like a making of. That's what you should do, honestly. You'll have a much better time if you actually care about horror. If you are like a more like just casual horror watcher, you might enjoy the first part, but I don't know. I just don't think it adds anything really. Yeah, so that was my review for Antrum, the Deadliest Film Ever Made. I think they should have dropped the Deadliest Film Ever Made part and just kept it as Antrum, and cut the documentary bullshit and just released the last, like, the credit scene as like a YouTube add-on or whatever, behind the scenes. And yeah, I think A24 would have been like great to release. Probably like would have, this seems like something they would release, so like I don't know if they pitched it to them and maybe A24 wasn't interested, but yeah, I don't know, part of me gets the feeling that maybe like they, whatever studio they brought it to, like they had just the film Antrum, and then they were like, oh, we can't really market this, so we're gonna like make it something that'll go viral by being like, oh, this film kills people. So I don't know, that's just a feeling. It may be completely off base, but seems like something that a studio would do. Thanks for joining me. I will see you in the next video.